The Last Dinosaur. That's right, folks. Dino Summer is continuing. We are entering our last film from the 1900s. The rest of the films we talk about will be from the 2000s. So let's go out on top. One of the premises I had for this show doing Dino Summer stuff was talking about dinosaur films that either are forgotten or don't get the love. You know? This one falls into the forgotten category. This is a 1977 film with a American slash Japanese production behind it. There are Godzilla sound effects in it, but also it is produced by Rankin and Bass. I don't know why this is the first Rankin and Bass film we're talking about, because it's utterly insane that this is the one, but that is the case. Rankin and Bass produced The Last Dinosaur. You probably have no idea what this movie is. There is an iconic poster for it. It is Richard Boone and Joan Van Ark. Two names you might know. Probably not, but whatever. This is probably 5 movies into doing the Dino Summer stuff, the biggest surprise for me. I think this movie is genuinely good in a very specific way. Every film we talked about now, I like some of them more than this. This is the one I would show to people. If we needed, like, you're hanging out with your friends, you want to put on a lame-ass movie for a bit, and you're like, hey, I got one for you. Have you seen The Last Dinosaur? What if the most insane shit happened, and then dinosaurs were in it, and it looked good? This is the one you'd show them. This is the one I recommend, like, people having a, like, terrible movie party to put on. Because it is entertaining, you don't know half of what's about to happen, and it's genuinely satisfying in very specific ways. There is some Lost World in here, there's some Moby Dick in here, and I'm like, why is this working for me so well? Maybe because I'm a sucker for a big rubber suit. I love a big rubber suit. I was so tempted after this to just be like, should we just watch every Godzilla movie again? I love a big rubber suit with a guy in it, and it just moves weird. It moves like a guy in a suit. It's not trying to be realistic to a dinosaur. There's head swivels. There's weird bending over, looking between your legs. It's funny and stupid, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it to no end. This movie was interesting, to say the least. I knew nothing about this one. Like the other movies we've talked about, I know a little bit. I know the books or the literature. This one was a complete surprise. It kind of starts off the same way as The Lost World, a rich guy going on an expedition to this lost world. But how we get there is way too different. First off, there's a theme song. There is a theme song sung by a famous singer. I don't know her name, but it's about how men have changed throughout history, and like the last of his ilk is the main character of this piece. His name, our main character, Richard Boone, plays Maston Thrust Jr. We are following Maston Thrust. Terrible name, but it's interesting. And this movie opens up with him on his private jet, and there's a woman who wants to sleep with him even though he looks insane. He looks insane. He looks like a 70-year-old man who doesn't know how to properly wear sunglasses and is just rich and annoying. It's a billionaire being a loser. It's really annoying. But this woman, I should say, wants to sleep with him. And he's like, I gotta go do stuff in the cockpit or whatever. Read this book about my life. So then she reads a book about his life, and we get the song, The Last Dinosaur. It's about him. He's the last dinosaur. He's an old man in a young man's world or something. We also find out he's the richest man in the world. Anyways, he's headed to a press conference. That's where he's going. So he gets there, and we get all the information for what the rest of the movie's going to be in this press conference. He sets up this meeting, and then the survivor from this incident, his name is Chuck, he explains that he's working for, like, they're like weird tube things. They drill into the ocean or lava or something, and, like, they resurfaced in an unknown location. And when they got there, the rest of his team was attacked by Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he survived. So now Maston Thrust is like, so we're going back to that place. I'm personally going to go. I'm going to bring Chuck with me. I'm also going to bring this really smart scientist with me. He's going to come in, and he's going to help us out. I'm also bringing this guy, and he points to this very tall, very strong African-American guy named Bunta. He's like, Bunta's going to come with me. He's silent, doesn't say anything, but he's very strong and has a spear. And then we're going to bring a reporter, because you have to bring a reporter. There was a reporter in the Lost World. There's got to be a reporter here. What Maston doesn't want, though, is the reporter that was chosen, which is Joan Van Ark, who's a woman. He's like, I've been on millions of hunting expeditions and never has a woman ever been involved. I'm not going to have a woman come here. But later she seduces him, and he's like, okay, you can come. The most disturbing thing about this movie is that every single female character, to which there are 3, wants to have sex with Maston. It is disturbing because he looks like a leather baseball glove. There is nothing appealing about that man, nor is his money interesting. He looks like a freak. And I'm sorry, Richard Boone, you just do. It's kind of, you think for a minute when like Francesca and Maston are in her bed and he thinks they're going to get it on. She wants to show him pictures like she takes in war, so he'll let her go on the expedition. You think she's doing like a Lois Lane thing. But then later in the movie, she actually loves him and wants to be with him. So it's very frustrating. It's such an annoying mix of tone. It almost ruins the piece. But I think we're trying to be tongue-in-cheek because the score is very tongue-in-cheek. It's not serious whatsoever. And people will say very specific lines of dialogue and we'll get the weird music sting. I don't understand it. It's the Japanese thing. Honestly, it is. We're not taking it seriously. So that's the crew. They're going to head into another... Oh, they have a very specific name. I think it's like the Polar Borer, which is like saying polar bear if you're stupid. That's the name of like the pod tunnel craft drill thing they're going to go into to emerge in the new world. So they go. That's the team. They end up there. They land. And then immediately they're like, this is kind of weird. It's a really good mix of practical location and sets. It looks better than some of the other films we've talked about. But part of that is because this is a co-Japanese production. They know how to make their monster movies look good. And when we have big rubber suits in real locations, you know where to put the camera. Upward angles, Dutch angles, make things look big and terrifying. A little bit of like imposing stuff that's not as like effective as other versions, but it works fine. Like this is doing pretty good. So they first meet one type of dinosaur. I don't know what kind of dinosaur that was. It looks insane. And that's the other thing too that I just adore. It's another big rubber suit, but it's the kind of big rubber suit where you have to have 2 people in it, so the back legs are one person and the front legs are another person. It looks amazing. It almost kills Francesca, and then she starts laughing it off. Francesca becomes the worst character ever. The moment she leaves the pod and gets on this land, she stops being a reporter and starts being a girl. I don't know how to explain it, but she is giddy in the way, and then she becomes a domestic housewife because things happen. A couple things happen. They're going to set up a camp, and as they do that, the T-Rex kills the doctor and steals their pod and like takes it away to like a cave to like bury it or just hide it. So the pod's gone. They can't escape this place anymore. They are stuck here. As that's happening, there's also the side plot of a bunch of cavemen. Now, this was supposed to be just like a mission to check stuff out, not actually hunt. But it becomes Moby Dick because our Captain Ahab, Maston Thrust, wants to kill the dinosaur, so he brings a gun with him. And when a dinosaur charges them, he shoots it, but then the gun gets jammed, and he can't use it anymore, so he discards it. And then the cavemen find the gun. Now, there's a group of cavemen, and then there's like one other woman in that group who looks at like the material possessions of the normal people and is like, I kind of want to go with them, so I'm going to follow them. She gets a purse, she gets the scope of the gun, and becomes an accessory to a man. Okay. This is not a long movie. It's like 104 minutes, I think. So you're probably wondering, it's going to be a lot like The Lost World. Quick in and out. They're going to fight the dinosaurs. They're going to find their pod and get out of there. That is not what happens. What happens next after the doctor is killed, they are stranded in this place. They can't go anywhere. There's tension between Mastin and Francesca because she's kind of flirting with Wade because he's a young guy. Wade, the MVP of this movie, because every single thing he does is the appropriate reaction. He's like, stop laughing. This is bad. We shouldn't have come here. I hate everyone. We have to leave. They get stranded in this place for 4 months. And in that time, they have built themselves swords and shields out of discarded metal. Francesca has become the housewife who cooks them meals while the men go and hunt, and they're in a turf war with the cavemen. And then as that story progresses, it stops being about the dinosaurs, and we see Mastin build a crossbow. He kills one of the cavemen, and they all back off. I'm just like, where did this go? I get this is all about like this man who found like the one place he'll be happy. But you have these big rubber suits of the dinosaurs. I want to see that. This is the only one of the films we talked about that actually has a separate storyline for the dinosaurs, because we get to watch the T-Rex drag away the polar borer. He gets rid of that, and then he gets into like a scrap with a Triceratops, and the Triceratops suit is perfect. It is the best looking suit we have talked about in any of these movies. No notes. He stabs the Tyrannosaurus. It looks awesome. But then the Tyrannosaurus kills him, which sucks because I want to see that fight more. The pterodactyls don't look good, but the Triceratops looked amazing. I wanted more from it. So that's the story. It kind of becomes about just trying to survive for a bit. That could be appealing to you, but if I want to see dinosaurs, I want to see dinosaurs. It gets so weird so quickly, and then the back half of the movie is about watching these people survive. They're going to travel to new locations to try to like find new things to hunt, evading this dinosaur, but it slowly becomes about Mastin trying to hunt the T-Rex because that's his greatest foe or something. It is very obvious how they handle that storyline. It's either going to work for you or it's not. It gets the job done. When it becomes about Mastin, who's the worst character in this aside from Francesca. Look, nobody's good but Chuck. They're all terrible people but Chuck. I'm not even going to have an opinion on Bunta because he's just there to be big and strong, and then he dies in a very anticlimactic way. It's so weird. So weird. And then like that girl cave lady wants to sleep with Mastin and like curls up to him and he's like, ew, get off of me. Like, are you kidding me? I thought she'd go for Bunta. That would like make more sense. I don't understand why everybody is horny for Mastin Thrust. It makes no sense to me. He's not an attractive person. So there's just a bunch of shit in the middle. I don't know how much we need to get into it. There's the turf war, and there's just surviving and like building weapons, and then eventually it leads them to going so far into like the depths of the world that Chuck finds the pod. He finds the polar borer that they can use to get back home. Because apparently, like, the people who monitor the station, that very day, they're going to shut it down unless they don't get something in the next, like, I think it's 8 hours. So Chuck's going to drag the polar borer back into the water as we're doing our final standoff against the T-Rex. What does that look like? The crossbow's not going to hurt it. So Mastin and his team do a montage where they build a big catapult to throw a big rock at the T-Rex. Does it work? Kind of. He throws the rock in the most insane shot of the movie where it literally is a big rock hitting the rubber dinosaur suit, and it reacts like it hit a rubber dinosaur suit. They're not trying to make it look realistic. It's brilliant in how stupid it is. But that happens, and then Bunta gets killed in this sequence. Francesca has to choose between her two men. Does she go home to civilization where she doesn't have to be this weird domestic woman? She can go back to photographing war photos and winning Pulitzer Prizes. Or does she stay with like this weird old man who's going to die out here hunting a T-Rex? He didn't kill the T-Rex throwing a big rock at it. He just, stunted it for a second. It's like, it's not getting up, so we can do this situation. Eventually, she chooses to leave with Chuck. But Mastin stays behind because there's no place for him back in civilization. There's only so many women and accolades you can achieve being the richest man in the world. This is where you want to be. He's a big game hunter. What's the biggest game in the world? A T-Rex. He doesn't have the tools or equipment to hunt it properly, but that's just how he wants to go out. Fine. The things they say and how they act, it's insanity. But it also looks really good for some reason. Like, the cinematography is good, the coloring is good. Now, the way I saw this movie was through one of my favorite services out there called the Internet Archive. It is how I love watching a lot of these films that sometimes get lost for time. I recommend people do that. Don't like torrent movies. If you do it from the Internet Archive where people want to document and save them. That transfer looks great. It looks very crisp and cool. Now, I did watch it on like a smaller screen, so maybe if I like propped it up bigger, it'd look bad, but it looked good. I think the sound effects were good. The music's weird, but it worked. Everything holds up pretty well for like a really slucky B-list movie. And sometimes that's all you need. This one is effective in doing that. And I'm very, very happy with it. It is about an old man thinking he can fight a T-Rex. It's about a young man thinking that old generation's a loser. And it's about like a cave woman thinking she can score with like Richard Boone. So it's very weird, but there is a Triceratops suit in here that justifies the price of admission, which is free because it's online. It is a forgotten dinosaur movie, but of everything we've watched so far, I have been the happiest with this one. I don't know if it's the best one. It's the most interesting. And that's something. It feels like the most classic talk to a camera movie of the bunch, because you never know what's going to happen. The people are crazy. It's so weird and specific, and becomes like about building a domestic life in the wilderness for half of it, which is insane. But that is the last dinosaur. I guess that's what Maston is. He's the last dinosaur because there's more than one dinosaur at the end of this movie. But that is going to do it for this episode of Galactic Tales. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.